All right, guys, so I'm making a tutorial for the wheel that you're trying to design. I've gone ahead already and I've made a sketch with the circles that you need. I'll go back into that sketch just to show you. These are the 5 circles that you're going to want, and they represent the 5 diameters. The inner part where the axle goes through, the outer part of that cylinder if you're looking from the back of the wheel, and then the inner wheel, and then this area where the tire fits in between. So now obviously we're going to do revolve. So what I would do next is start to create a series of lines, kind of like we did back for drawing 100. We can come over to here and put a line across for our axis. And then we can create these lines. All right, now what I want to do is I'm going to show you different ways to make the spokes and all that stuff later on. But right now we just kind of want to get the profile of the wheel itself. So it's helpful to have all these and to do the projection this way. Again, just like we did drawing 100. So now what I can do is I can take my dimensions from my worksheet and I can start to do my other view. And I'm going to tell you this right now, the dimensions that I'm going to use are not necessarily the right dimensions. So do not use my dimensions because these numbers are not, what I want you to be using. I want you to use your dimensions. These dimensions are not correct. They're close, but they're not perfect. So when I'm done with this, you will see what I have created and it'll make more sense to you. Okay. The reason that I drew that off to the edge of this line here is so that when I was drawing these lines, I wasn't overlapping this line and with this one, and now I can see it as its own profile. So that's why I didn't draw it in here deeper, on top of that line, because I can see my profile better this way. Now, for the cylinder here, if you look very closely at your wheel, you may not have noticed this at first, but look at your wheel and look at the front of the wheel and notice how the inner hub, this plastic right here, it is inset. It is not flush with the outside edge of the wheel. It's set in a bit. Now the back of that cylinder, if you look at the back of the wheel, it does go flush with the back edge of the wheel. And depending on how you decide to do the spokes and the design of your wheel is going to change how we do things along the way. But right now, we are going to make this cylinder, we could make it half and rotate it, but you know what? I think the best course of action is actually to wait and come back and do that cylinder later on. So let's just hold off on that for now, and you'll see why later on. So if I finish this sketch, I have a line here so that I can rotate around the axis. Make sure you have that line. Finish sketch. Then I can revolve. I kept saying rotate. I can revolve this around that point. And so there's our wheel. now we've got some options. Now we can work on the design of the front, and there's a couple ways I'll show you how to do that. All right, actually, I just made a quick adjustment. I realized that this dimension didn't look right, and it was wrong. So I fixed this so you can see that it looks more like a wheel. Obviously, before it was definitely wrong. So I adjusted that dimension. Now, we are going to actually put the center cylinder in at this point. Now, to do that, I'm going to do a sketch on the back face of the wheel. I'm going to do a cylinder at this point, and this is going to be around a point, we'll just call it 0.5. Again, do not go off my dimensions. And I'm not going to put the hole in at this point, and that'll make sense why later on. So right now I'm just going to do that. I'm going to extrude that in the other direction, and I'm going to do a distance of something around there. Okay, so this is the front of the wheel. All right, so now I want to show you some methods to make spokes for your wheel. So we need to find, if you collapse the origin folder and go to the XY plane and then click Start 2D Sketch. Now, we could work like this, but it's really hard to see where we need to draw our spoke. So there's a really cool thing we can do here. If we go to the revolution and right-click and go to Slice Graphics and put that back on a direct front view, this is a really nice way to see inside where our work plane is. So now what I can do is I can go to the arc tool, and you can do this any way that you want. I'm just going to show you how to make a curved spoke. You could maybe use the line tool. You could click on the drop down and use the spline tool if you want a really irregular curve. I'm just going to show you how to use the arc tool though. You could use lines, but with the arc tool we're going to click, our first point is where the arc starts. Now, it does not locate any endpoints. I don't, I guess I did find that. So I'm going to start up here because our spoke, right, has to connect to this face of the wheel. So I have to at least click on this corner or up inside the material somewhere in here. And you'll see how you can make this your own and adjust your spoke however you want. My second click is going to be down here. And again, I've got to intersect the hub. The spoke has to intersect the hub. Look at the wheel in your hand and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to click somewhere in this area. Does it matter? No, not really. You know, somewhere in this area. So if I click, and then my third click is how much do I want that spoke to curve. So I'm just going to click in here and give it a gentle curve. Now I'm going to make another one. I'm going to come back a little bit away from that arc. I'm going to click in here, and my third click is going to be right about there. Now I'm going to use the line tool. I need to connect these two arcs so that I can extrude them, right? Now I have a closed boundary.